This is Algebra 1, Lesson 3.7. We are doing formulas and functions. We're solving a formula for one of its variables, and then we're going to be able to write them in function form, beginning on page 174. You have a definition of what a formula is. A formula is an algebraic equation that relates two or more real-life quantities. So a formula, more often than not, you're familiar with some formulas already, like perimeter is equal to 2 length plus 2 width. Another one you're familiar with is area is equal to length times width. Formulas deal with more than one variable. It makes it an algebraic equation because there's variables in it. First one is solving an area formula. Area is equal to length times width. Find a formula or find a formula for W in terms of A and L. So remember, we undo operations. We don't undo numbers. We don't undo variables. We undo operations. This formula, A is equal to LW, is A is equal to L times W. So if we want to get W by itself, it says find a formula for W. That means you want to get W all by itself. So we know how to undo multiplication. We divide. When you divide one side, you want to divide by everything that's not W. L is what's not W. You divide the right by W, you divide the left by W, and you get A over L is equal to W. Simple as that. No numbers involved. Remember, you don't undo numbers. You undo operations. On the back, same formula. A is equal to LW. This time, solve for L. You're undoing the same operation, just like the example. Except this time, instead of getting it W by itself, you're trying to get L by itself. So L times W, you undo that by dividing. And you ask yourself, what do I want to divide by? There's no number to divide by. This is where people get stuck sometimes. You want to divide by whatever's not L. And what's not L right there is W. So if you divide the right by W, you divide the left by W. L is equal to, or the area is, the length is equal to the area divided by the width. Area divided by width. A divided by W. Do this one. Find the width of a rectangle that has an area of 42 feet squared and a length of 6 feet. Take about a minute on this one. All right, we didn't quite need a minute on it. It says find the width. So you're finding the width of an area of a rectangle that has an area of 42 square feet and a length of 6 square feet. We just said a second ago that area equals length times width. So you're trying to find the width. We also said that if you got W by itself, you divided both sides by L, and you got W equals A, or area over length. So we know what the length is. It's 6 feet. So in place of L, we're going to plug in 6 feet. And we know what the area is. It's 42 feet. In place of A, we'll plug in 42 square feet, I should say. That's equal to the width. So 42 divided by 6, we should have 7. And then feet squared divided by feet to the first power, you subtract those, you get width is equal to 7 feet. So 7 feet. Number 2 is solving a temperature conversion formula. Again, same thing. That is just more than one step. It's not as simple as undo multiplication by dividing. This one you have to undo your order of operations in reverse. So you undo addition and subtraction first. You undo plus 32 on both sides. So if you subtract 32 here, you subtract 32 on the right, you do the same on the left. That gives you f minus 32 is equal to 9 over 5c. This part is eliminated right here, plus 32 minus 32. That's by subtracting 32 on both sides. So f minus 32 is equal to 9 over 5c. Remember, that's just the vertical method and the horizontal method. Now, if you want to get c by itself, it says 9 over 5 times c. Remember, you undo 9 over 5 times something by dividing by 9 over 5. But remember, dividing by a fraction is the exact same thing as multiplying by its reciprocal. So multiply by 5 over 9. You multiply the right by 5 over 9. You do likewise to the left, multiply it by 5 over 9. So f minus 32 is in parentheses now, multiplied by 5 over 9. This cancels out this. This cancels out this. And you're left with c all by itself on the right is equal to 5 over 9 times f minus 32. C is isolated. That's what you were trying to get. This is the 4c part of the problem. 4c gets c by itself is equal to 5 over 9. That's the reciprocal of 9 over 5 times f minus 32. On the back, let's do this one. K is equal to 5 over 9 times f minus 32 plus 273. Solve for f. Remember, your order of operations has to go in reverse. Take about a minute on this one. Okay, we went a little bit longer than a minute there. You want to undo anything that is addition or subtraction first. You're trying to get f all by itself. We have f minus 32 up there, and then we have plus 273. So there's definitely addition and subtraction happening. But remember, since f minus 32 is in parentheses, you can't touch it till the end. That's the last step when you undo it. However, we can undo plus 273 by subtracting 273. If you subtract it from the right, subtract it the same thing from the left. That'll give you k minus 273 on the left equals 5 over 9 times f minus 32. We still don't have f by itself, but it's looking more like the example problem now. Okay. Remember, we still can't undo minus 32 on the right because it is in parentheses. So we'll go to the next step, undo multiplication and division. It says 5 over 9 times f minus 32. Remember, you undo times something by dividing, but dividing by a fraction, again, is the exact same thing as multiplying by its reciprocal. If you multiply the right by 9 over 5, this one's going to act the same way and you're going to undo the, you're going to have minus 273 in parentheses times 9 over 5. So this cancels out this, and this cancels out this. And on the right, now you have f minus 32. So we got rid of the parentheses finally. So f minus 32 is equal to 9 over 5 times k minus 273. And then we're going to undo one more thing. We're going to undo plus minus 32. So now we're finally to the parentheses step, because this was what it used to look like. Doesn't look like that anymore because we got rid of them. So we're back to undoing addition and subtraction. Undo minus 32 by adding it. And if you add it to the right, add it to the left. Now we can't add it to negative 273 because that's inside of parentheses. So we're simply write it as 9 over 5 times k minus 273 plus 32. And f is now simplified. F is now isolated all by itself. And that's how you make the conversion from Fahrenheit to Kelvin degrees. Checkpoint number 1 says solve for L. P is equal to 2L plus 2W. Now we got 2 steps. It's not as simple as length times width. 2L plus 2W. You still want to get L all by itself. Remember, you work your order of operations backwards. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally becomes Aunt Sally, my dear excuse please. So you undo plus 2W by subtracting 2W. If you subtract it from the right, subtract it from the left. P minus 2W now, because you can't take those away from each other because they're not like terms, is equal to 2 times L. Still don't have L by itself. You still have to undo 2 times something by dividing by 2. Remember, whatever you do to the right side, you do the exact same thing to the left side. L is now equal to P minus 2W over 2. Solve for W. V is equal to L times W times H. If you need to do that, if you need to write it as V is equal to L times W times H, then do that. If you want to get W by itself, you want to undo the operation. Remember, we don't undo numbers and we don't undo variables. We undo operations. What operation is on the right-hand side? It's twice, but it's times. So if we want to undo times, we want to divide. What do we divide by if we want to keep W? What is not W? L and H. So we'll divide. You don't have to do it as 2 separate operations divided by LH. You can do it at the same time. You divide that side by LH. You do the exact same thing to this side. Divide that by LH. And W is equal to volume over length times height. And then solve for R. Again, the same thing. We have C is equal to 2 times pi times radius. If you have to rewrite it to where you can see the operation, then do it. Times pi times radius. We undo operations, not numbers and not variables. If we want to solve for R, that means we want R by itself. Just like number 2, we undo multiplication by dividing. And what is not R? 2 and pi, or 2 pi. That's correct. So if you do it to the right side, do it to the left side, 2 pi. R is equal to circumference over 2 times pi. Number 4 says the distance traveled for a rate R and a time t is given by distance equals rate times time. There's your formula right there. Solve this formula for R. Okay, easy. So we want to get R by itself. It says R times t, divide by what? t. We do it to one side, we do it to the other side. So rate equals distance over time. And this matches what we know already. We know that on your speedometer, rate of speed equals distance over time, miles per hour. So then it says, then use that formula, the one we just made, R equals D over T, to find the speed of a car that takes 8 hours to drive 400 miles. So distance is going to be 400 miles. And time, it says, is going to be 8 hours. So we know that 8 goes into 40 5 times. So it goes into 450 times. So 50 miles per hour is your rate. And then example number 3 is writing things in function form. Negative 4x plus y is equal to 7. Write it so that y is a function of x. What you want to do is you want to get y all by itself. Anytime you see write it as a function where y is a function of x, you want to isolate y. So you undo minus 4x by adding 4x to both sides. If you add it here, you add it here. That'll cancel it out and leave you with y is equal to 7 plus 4x. We're going to reorder this very soon to make this say y equals 4x plus 7. Don't worry about that just yet, though. That's mx plus b for those of y'all that already know about mx plus b.